wanted chaos, and that's exactly what you got. For the first time in years, the 4 college football playoff teams, they're not cut and dry. It's not going to be a stress-free selection Sunday. For the first time in years, the College Football Playoff Committee is actually going to have to do some work and put some thought into their 4-team selection. And it is a dang shame, a darn shame, that this is not the year that we are implementing the 12-team playoff. Because we have so many deserving teams that deserve their shot at a national title, but unfortunately, their fate will be left up to a group of people that simply do not know ball. But today, guys, we are here to break down the potential playoff rankings, the final set of playoff rankings, who will make the college football playoff and have their shot for a national championship. After a chaotic week of conference championship games, the 4 teams are not cut and dry. A couple locks, sure, but a lot of toss-ups as well, particularly 4 teams that are going to be fighting for the last 2 spots. So we're here to break down the case for each of those teams, share our official predictions, and we will sit back and anxiously await the results and decision by the committee, the incompetent committee, anxiously awaiting it along with you, again, here in just a few hours. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks and that holiday special where we're going to give you every bowl game pick against the spread and every NFL playoff pick against the spread. Again, the link for that down in the description below over on thegridironexpert.com. We'd love for you guys to go check it out, sign up, and become a member of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with here, guys. Obviously, it is a very interesting situation for all of us to be in. We'll break it down into 2 categories. What we think is probably going to happen and what we think probably should happen. The committee, you hear the words all the time. Is it their goal, and that's been since its inception back in 2014, has always been to put the best 4 teams into the playoff. But you hear the argument all the time. Is it the most deserving teams? Or is it the best teams? That is the question that you have to ask yourself. That's the question the committee has to ask themselves on Sunday morning, here in just a few hours. But you take a look. These are the 6 teams that all have an argument to be in the college football playoff. Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas, Alabama, and even Georgia. We know that Michigan and Washington are locks. There is no arguing that. Michigan won the Big Ten 26-0 over Iowa. We knew they were going to annihilate the Hawkeyes. Everybody in the country knew that was going to happen. They are going to probably be the number 1 team in the playoff rankings following Georgia's loss to Alabama. So Michigan 100% is in, 13-0 Big Ten champion. Washington 100% is in. The committee had them at number 3. They probably will rise up to number 2, 13-0 Pac-12 champion. 2 wins on their resume against Oregon. That's good enough as it is. 2 of the best wins in the entire country, not to mention the other wins they have, such as Utah, USC, Oregon State, teams like that. So Washington, going to be 2. They're in. Michigan, Washington, they don't have to sweat. And they probably both know they're going to be 1 and 2, just like that. But the rest, that's where things get interesting. You've got an undefeated Florida State team here, a 13-0 ACC champion. Why are the Seminoles not a lock? Well, it's because they don't have Jordan Travis. And you hear it all the time. The committee says that they don't really look at injuries. The injuries play a major role, sure, but we're not going to punish a team because their star quarterback got injured, because their star wide receiver got injured, because their coach left, because their coach was suspended, Michigan, things like that. We're not going to punish teams for those things. Florida State, since Jordan Travis went down, has continued to win. They beat Florida in the Swamp, and they just got a top 15 win over Louisville in the ACC championship game. They are an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. And you look at Florida State, the committee, guys, has had the Seminoles 3 spots higher than Texas. In the last set of rankings they put out, the Seminoles were the 4th-ranked team in the country, number 4. That's 3 spots higher than Texas, who was number 7. That's 4 spots higher than Alabama, who was number 8. And while Florida State, with their 3rd-string quarterback on Saturday night, only mustered 219 yards of offense, 55 of which came through the air, they beat a top 15 Louisville team by 10 points, 16-6. They held the Cardinals to 188 yards of offense. Now, you can make so many arguments here, right? Obviously, Florida State is not nearly as good nor as strong without Jordan Travis. Obviously, they are probably going to get annihilated in the college football playoff by whoever they may play. More than likely, it would be Washington, but maybe if they drop into 4, it would be Michigan. Either way, odds makers are already projecting that the Seminoles would be a double-digit underdog to whoever they play. That's not going to be fun for anybody to watch. But why would you punish a Florida State team? Does Florida State truly deserve to be punished for going undefeated, for being 13-0? They can't help injuries. That's not their fault. What happened to Jordan Travis was not their fault. We've seen teams come in there before with backup quarterbacks and thrive. Everybody's looking at the Cardale Jones effect, right? From years and years and years ago with Ohio State. First year of the college football playoff, they come in with a third-string quarterback and they win the whole dang thing. Could they do that? Who knows? But for us to even get that answer, they'd have to get their shot. The question is, will the committee do that? I believe they will. Our prediction is they will. Michigan, Washington locks. I don't see how you can leave out a 13-0 Florida State team. I don't see how you can leave out an undefeated Seminoles team that did their job, that scheduled tough non-conference games, opened the season up against LSU, got the win on their resume. LSU currently a top 15 team. They obviously played Florida, had to go to the Swamp, beat them in the Swamp with the backup quarterback, Tate Rodemaker, who didn't even play in the ACC championship game because he got injured in that game against the Gators. They went on the road and beat Clemson, who's in the top 25 right now for the committee. They beat Louisville, who is in the top 15 by the committee. So they have some decent wins on their resume, and I just don't see how you can leave them out. Why do they deserve to be punished? Will they get beat pretty bad? More than likely. But they deserve their shot. Deserving versus best. That's the argument here. So if that's the case, we believe the committee does that. 1, 2, 3. It leaves 3 teams vying for one spot. And really this argument should be pretty cut and dry, right? But unfortunately it's not. What's the case for Texas? What's the case for Alabama? You look at Texas. They won the Big 12 championship over Oklahoma State with 662 yards of offense, 452 of which came from Quinn Ewers. The Oklahoma State defense could not stop anybody. Could not stop a middle school football team on Saturday afternoon. Texas wins the Big 12. They're 12-1. Their lone loss to Oklahoma in the committee's rankings, very highly ranked. Only the big quality win for them is Alabama. And here's the thing. If you truly, as the committee, value head-to-head results, it should be cut and dry. Texas beat Alabama, which beat Georgia. Therefore, Texas is in, and that's your playoff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Michigan versus Texas, Washington versus Florida State. That's it. That's what we believe the committee should do. That's what I think it will look like here in just a few hours. I believe this will be your college football playoff. Because I don't see, even though Alabama beat Georgia, that is a significantly better win than what Texas did in the Big 12 championship. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm not arguing that. No doubt. But Texas beat Alabama. If we're going to sit here for weeks and weeks and weeks and pride ourselves on head-to-head results and talk about how important head-to-head results are, then that's a cut and dry argument here. Texas will be ahead of Alabama in whatever rankings they are, however it works out. If it's a battle between Texas or Alabama for that final spot, how can you not put Texas in? They beat Alabama at Alabama by 10 points. No doubt about that. So I think that's what you got here. But what about the case for Alabama? What about the case for Georgia? You look at the Crimson Tide. They just beat the number 1 team in the country. Look what Jalen Milroe said. He goes, if we just beat the number 1 team in the country, what does that make us? He's got a valid point. This Alabama team is significantly different and playing much better football than they did back in week 2. Back in week 2 when Jalen Milroe was still trying to figure things out and just his second game as the full-time starter at Alabama. Significantly different. They crushed Tennessee. They crushed LSU. They went into Atlanta and beat Georgia. Number 1 team in the country into their 29-game winning streak. Alabama's got arguably the best win of any team in the entire country right now. So Alabama does have a case to get in there. No doubt about that. Georgia, on the other hand, they're 12-1. Some people say, why do they deserve to be in? As Kirby Smart says, all year long, we've prided and paraded Georgia around as 2-time reigning national champion, the best team in the country, the most complete team in the country, this, that, and the other. So are you going to seriously tell me that the team that the committee has valued as the number 1 team in the country for weeks, the team that AP poll has mattered at number 1 for weeks, loses one? Georgia loses one neutral site conference championship game to a top 10 opponent by 3 points. They lose one game by 3 points at a neutral site to a top 10 team. And you're going to drop them at least 4 spots, maybe 5? Keep in mind, guys, the committee only dropped Oregon State and Tennessee 4 spots after annihilating victory or defeat against Oregon and Missouri. Oregon State gets killed by Oregon. They only drop 4. Tennessee gets annihilated by Missouri 36-7. They only drop 4. But Georgia loses to Alabama by 3 at a neutral site, and they drop at least 4, maybe 5? Where's the logic there? That doesn't make any sense. And so Georgia, without a doubt, has a reason to be angry and has a reason to believe they have a case to be for. But again, how can you justify putting Georgia in, keeping them in over Texas and over Alabama, who Georgia lost to? How can you justify even in the best four, keeping them in over either one of those teams? Georgia didn't even win their conference championship. Alabama did. Texas did. How can you make that argument? You look at this, guys, this is one of the deepest years of college football we've had in a long, long time, right? In most scenarios, in most recent years, we haven't had this case. Look at last year, TCU. TCU lost their conference championship to Kansas State, but there were no other teams behind them, and there wasn't enough chaos that unfolded behind them to justify TCU to drop out of the top four. They actually didn't move a single spot. They remained at number 3, ended up beating Michigan, and went to the national championship game. This year, it's not that way. A couple of years ago, Georgia and Alabama played in the SEC championship game. Alabama annihilated Georgia, beat them by 17, and the Bulldogs still remained in the college football playoff and got their revenge a few weeks later in the national championship game. Again, there wasn't enough depth among the teams. There wasn't enough chaos. This year, we've got that. This is the first time in a long time we've had 6 teams truly vying for a spot, and really, to me, all 6 teams having a legitimate case to make their college football playoffs. There's no doubt about that. But you look over here, guys. This is what we believe will happen. The prediction, what we think the committee is going to do. If you want the true best 4 teams, if we want the best college football playoff, the best college football playoff in the last year of its existence, at least from a 4-team standpoint, this is what it needs to be. Michigan versus Alabama, Washington versus Texas. Because let me tell you right now, if you put Texas versus Florida State, Alabama versus Florida State on a neutral site, the Longhorns and the Crimson Tide, they win big. Washington versus Florida State on a neutral site, Washington wins big. No doubt about that. Florida State is not the same team without Jordan Travis. To me, they do not stand a chance in those games without Jordan Travis. He's not coming back. So if you want the true best 4 teams, this is what it needs to look like. And it needs to look exactly like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama. That's what the best 4, in my opinion, truly looks like, based on what we've seen this last weekend, what we've seen all year. If you want the most deserving, this is what it's going to be. Because it's going to be very hard to leave out a Florida State team that's 13-0, won their conference championship. The committee has never left out an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. Never done it. Why would it change now? Sure, injury, sure, but we're not supposed to look at that. Close your eyes. Don't look. We got guys that are deciding the fate of these programs that do not know football. They don't. And it's a dang shame that's the way it is. Bottom line is, here in a few hours, there's going to be 1, maybe 2 fan bases that are going to be absolutely livid that they got left out. They're going to be very disappointed that they were left out of the coveted Final Four. Just the fact of the matter is the way it is. The 4-team playoff has always been a stupid format. 5 Power 5 conferences, only 4 teams get in. It was bound to make some people upset at some point. Ironic that it's going to happen in the last year of the 4-team playoff's existence. Next year, we won't run into this problem. Next year, we'll be in a much better spot. Next year, we'll have a 12-team playoff conference expansion. It'll be wild. But what a way to end the 4-team playoff era. Selection Sunday going to be the most anticipated, most anxiety-filled Selection Sunday that we've had in years. We believe it will be Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Texas, but we believe it should be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. These will provide the best games. These will provide the more competitive games. These will provide the 4 teams that truly right now are the best teams in college football. Truly the best. Those are the 4. But we believe it's going to look like this. Bottom line, guys, is what a year, what a year, what a year. We've pitched the cases. We've given you the case for all of these teams on why they should get in, why they shouldn't get in. Now all we've got to do is sit back and await the selection show. And, of course, we'll be back with some analysis shortly after that. But what a year, guys. You wanted chaos? You got it. Just get ready for the aftermath that's coming with it. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. We're going to have you covered every step of the way. We're going to be previewing the playoff, previewing the New Year's Six bowl games very shortly after the selection show. We're going to have predictions for every single bowl game when those games are released. So do please stay tuned for that. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on your team's prediction. Check out the expert picks down in the description below, including our holiday special. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.